Howdy, guys. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. It's Monday, November 27th. And to call it a crazy weekend, not just in College Station, but across the college football world, it was certainly entertaining, right?
Well, yeah, and obviously we were at the head of the line as far as getting rid of our coaches, so we've seen plenty more fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's what do they call it? Like Black Monday, for coaches, the Monday after the regular season.
Yep. Black Monday, Cyber Monday. We're excited to be here. I'm Rob White, fighting Texas Aggie class of 14. I can't talk today.
I tell you what, it's been a weekend, and with the holiday, extended holiday, I understand it. I'm Roy May, fighting Texas A class 2015, and we've got a lot to get into today.
Yeah, but first and foremost, how was your Thanksgiving?
I had an absolutely fantastic Thanksgiving. I had obviously Thanksgiving on Thursday, and then we did Friendsgiving on Saturday, and so I'm a little turkeyed out.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a wonderful holiday. It is. It's one of my favorites. Probably it's my second favorite behind Christmas. I love it, and it is nice that it is just a set day. So it's always on a Thursday, so you're going to get a long weekend. But yeah, man, had a great holiday. I'd say I recharged my batteries, but I probably did the exact opposite. So I'm in like holiday hangover mode today. Like yesterday, I was just rest and recuperate, and this morning it was. I was telling you before we popped on. First half of my Monday, I generally take off. Since we as a realtor, I work on the weekends a lot. So my first half of Monday, outside of my little team meeting, I take off. But given the extended break that I have for the holiday, this morning has been hectic to say the least. Not as hectic as a coaching search by any means, but it's been hectic. And you did some traveling, right?
Yeah, we went out to New Mexico there for Thanksgiving, and that was good. Had my friend Ashley joined us, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, to call it crazy, it was certainly a quick turnaround. We drive all the way up to Aubrey, which is north side of Dallas, Denton area. Shoot all the way over on US 380 because it's a straight shot all the way to Tatum. Get out there, do it, and got home. It was 22 hours over the course of 48 that were spent on the road. So to call it a long weekend would be an understatement. And we get back into town Friday. My parents show up because grandmother passed away, and got a bunch of furniture. So I have a brand new fold out couch currently in my living room, and I have let's see, got a new desk that I'm going to install in here. So I'm excited to put that to work here before long. But
Nice.
yeah, to call it it was a crazy weekend, but we got back in one piece, and that was the most important thing. So
Yeah, it's always such a tough weekend for travel. It's unfortunately just so dangerous. I'd never heard it before this year, but I guess they call it Black Wednesday. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I think, has the most DUI accidents of any day of the year.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe New Year's, 4th of July, but those are all crazy travel days. So, I ended up popping 35 heading up north, and that was, let me tell you, even in the morning, not a ton of fun. But once we got on 380 and shot out from Denton, it was pretty clear, minus the deer and the hogs, but it was all right.
Yeah. That is the joy to always doing it at home. And even if I travel, even if I were to travel like I do on Christmas Day, my folks are just down in Spring, so it's a pretty simple shot.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
But quite a bit happened over the holiday. And we're gonna ease into this. So we're gonna talk. I'm gonna start with talking Aggie basketball.
Yeah, it's a great start.
Let's get some of the stuff out of the way. Aggie basketball goes to the Invitational, and they go 2-1. Absolutely could have gone 3-1. Couple injuries, one to Henry Coleman, and then Boots. Henry Coleman twists his ankle. Boots, which we didn't really find out till after the game, started having breathing issues, which is quite frankly a lot more concerning than a sprained ankle.
Oh yeah.
So, but go out there and go 2-1, and you beat Penn State, you beat Iowa State, and you lose. You lose one that I think if you don't have Boots and Henry Coleman go down, I think that game is different.
Yeah, and a lot of people love to talk about officiating, and apparently it wasn't great in that game either. But even so, you come out 2-1, and you battled through a lot of adversity in game two. I mean, you're at one point down 21 points and come
Yeah.
storming back, and without a couple of your best players. So I think that's really indicative of a lot of the heart of this team.
Mhm.
And that's a situation that we need to be prepared for, because those are the type of games we're going to see come around about tournament time. So those are very important games for us to show a lot of grit in.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not a bad loss because you look at, you get your revenge on Penn State, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so everybody's feeling good. Going to FAU, and that's a Final Four team from last year, and they returned quite a bit. So
Yeah.
that's still a March deep into March kind of team. I mean, they had a bit of a magical run, I guess, but still, there's a ton of talent.
Yeah.
Then with two injuries, and for part of the game, you have an issue rotating out, and on top of leaving guys open, they're not missing. The
Mm-hmm.
percentage they shot out from behind the arc.
Yeah.
And that's one thing people need to understand is part of Buzz's defense is just going to leave dudes open, and but it happened at a much higher clip, I thought, in that
Mm-hmm.
FAU game than regular. And then you combine that with them just deciding not to miss. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of a recipe for disaster on top of two injuries. And
Exactly.
and let's not forget, we're also we're also missing Julius Marble.
Yeah.
So it's not an injury, but we're missing a big man down inside. And you saw, the discrepancy. FAU had a 7-footer. And that's just something where even though Henry Coleman by no means is short, along with Solo
Mm-hmm.
and Garcia, it's just it's a size disadvantage, but it's something that they can play through, and we've seen them play through it through effort, and really effort goes a really long way.
Mm-hmm.
When it's combined with a specific at least floor of talent,
Yeah.
all the effort in the world if you're a 1-star isn't going to get you anywhere.
No.
But well, it can on the defensive side. But so the game, the FAU game ended, and you're really not even upset about it. Because you saw him make this huge comeback. Because at one point, people were like, "Oh, this is terrible." Of course, the overreactions on message boards are the greatest thing ever. Minus,
Oh, every time.
but then you get into Iowa State game, and you find yourself in the same situation. Only this time, you didn't even start with Coleman or Boots.
Yeah.
And you find yourself the same situation, down 20 points. But this time they're able to fight back and win. And Iowa State, I don't know how good this team's going to be this year, because Iowa State in general has been good.
Oh,
They
yeah.
they generally put a good product on the court. They're normally in the tournament. Big 12 basketball is good. Big 12 basketball is a good conference, and sometimes there's an argument that it's the best conference in the country some years.
Yeah, and Iowa State's always a solid program. You're not wrong. They've been very competitive, especially come tournament time. So they're one of those teams to always keep an eye on, and a great addition to the resume. And
Yeah,
you
another good win.
Another great win, and you have an opportunity. Granted, tough game, but you're going to hit the road on Wednesday to go play Virginia at Virginia. So that could be a potentially interesting matchup as well.
Well, and I got to thinking about this afterwards. The feeling of going 2-1 in that invitational is really different than going 1-2.
Oh, yeah.
But part of me still thinks that Coleman and Boots, assuming Boots is okay, that's not an injury that necessarily has a timeline, depending on what the issue is. But I feel like Coleman sitting out was one of those, hey boys, I'm gonna need y'all to step up because I want to rest Henry for Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I mean, he was out there, he wasn't in a boot, he was in tennis shoes. So I feel like maybe that was a situation where he just sat Henry and was like, hey guys, there's going to be games where he might foul out or something happens, and we're going to have to do this anyway. So let's go do it today.
Yep, might as well, because you're going to have those situations, so you might as well be ready for them.
Yeah, and the officiating, it's really weird talking about the officiating the FAU game, and then the officiating like in the last minute and a half of the Iowa State game. And not that it was bad, but it was just like review everything. And and it was, I know the last couple of minutes of every game when it's close take forever to play, but this was well beyond that modicum of length. It was insane.
It was.
But then I got to thinking about it, watching football all over the place, college and pro, like what's going on with officiating right now? Premier League. It's like all the officiating at all the levels took the entire Thanksgiving holiday off.
No, and even if we go back a few weeks, even look at what we saw kind of MLB, I mean, you saw that the umpires were even struggling. Even our top level umpires that are, ranked the best, the ones that get sent into the postseason, they were struggling. I mean, they had a lot. I don't know what's going on with officiating right now. It's weird.
Well, and your counter argument is going to be, maybe it's just because we're at a point in history where everyone can pick everything apart, so no one misses anything anymore. Because
Yeah.
someone somewhere is going to see a bad call and post it, and then you're all going to see it. And so it's, I think a lot of that is just also us having more eyes on. Um,
Mhm.
maybe they were always this bad, and we just, we couldn't see them as much.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, you saw a situation just recently in the A&M LSU game this past weekend where I mean, a handful of situations, but one in particular that stuck out to me was one of the LSU players when our guy went out on the sideline slapped at his helmet after the play
Nothing.
right in front of the official and nothing. Like not even a stern talking to. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched the Bills Eagles game last night, but there was an atrocious horse collar that ended up getting called
Mhm.
intentional grounding instead of horse collar. There's just some bad. The Texans game, Tank Dell, he caught that ball on that sideline, and they even reviewed it and still didn't call it, which is also nutso to me.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it was a weird extended weekend for officiating,
it
but
was.
um, but all that to say, really good teams can overcome bad officiating. And I felt like that's what A&M did. The officiating in the FAU game wasn't necessarily one-sided bad. It was just kind of bad.
It was just bad. You're right.
But both teams were dealing with it, and we still, we were still there in the end of the game. So I think the continued kind of trajectory slash arc of not only achievement but excitement for this basketball team has got to be up there.
Hmm.
The women went on the road to a kind of an invitational tourney thing, and they won theirs.
Yeah.
Competition maybe not quite the levels what the men play, but again, we talked about this a week or two ago.
Yeah.
If she's still in a program building phase where sometimes it's better to feel good about winning than it
Agree.
is like getting your butt kicked by the number 4 team in the country on the road.
Exactly.
So I love the outcome for that. Friday, no, no, it might have been yesterday. Again, it's a weekend. I don't know. At some point over the weekend, volleyball selection show comes out. A&M makes the tournament. They
Yep.
make the field. They're going to Austin to play the SIPs.
Yep.
And quite frankly, that's a huge turnaround just by making the tournament. You're talking about first time in 4 or 5 years
Yep.
that the volleyball's been back in the NCAA. So,
Hmm.
good news come from that front as Jamie continues to build that program. And that's, I think it's year 1 for him. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of a feather in your cap. First year you come in and you make the tournament. So everything's looking good. I thought it was a great weekend. I thought the football game was unfortunate.
Hmm.
Um, I guess we'll just kind of slide into that a little bit. There's not a ton of reason to break down the A&M LSU game.
Not a lot to break down. I love the effort I saw, especially kind of middle portion of the game. I mean, certainly looked like we had our hands on both hands on the wheel for that middle portion of the game. Unfortunately, you just get down the stretch, and really two plays turned the tide of the game. That being a missed field goal and an interception. And unfortunately, when you have an interception in a situation like that,
Well,
you have to find a way to bounce back. And our boy just he never did.
and there was a scramble. We had them 4th down and I don't know, change 5 yards, something like that. And Jay
Yeah.
Daniels got loose and converted it. And I thought that was a bit of a backbreaker. But
Mhm.
we saw, unfortunately, we talked about 4th quarter, we started to see the secondary lapses or the
Mhm.
lapses in the secondary.
Yep.
Combined with they're having lapses because you're not getting after the quarterback. Jaden Daniels a real deal. I think he should win the Heisman.
He's a
My
great
LSU
player.
buddy, yeah, my LSU buddy and I were kind of just texting back and forth during the game, um, which is different for me. I don't ever like texting with people, but
Mhm.
he's rational, and we were just kind of chit chat more than anything. But we weren't like game analyzing. But I told him, I was like, man, I can't stand LSU, and I'll tell you right now, he deserves a Heisman. And I
Mhm.
don't think there's anybody that's really close. I don't think it should be close.
Yeah, between him and Bo Nix, and even so, I would say just looking at Daniels, I mean, he has been so outstanding, and even in a game when a lot of people considered that he really didn't play to the best of his ability, he still goes out there and puts up 235 yards passing and rushing for an additional 120, and just looked really good doing it.
He
Yeah,
did it when it mattered.
yeah, yeah, had a really struggle portion of the game. You're down 10 points and you just turn around and score three. Basically, yeah, I won't say three unanswered, but you get 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The most critical point in the game, and you found a way to win it.
Yeah,
Which,
and that's what winners do. And they had like
mhm,
a like their athletic trivia stat. Like the only person that's been passing and rushing yards at that level was Johnny Manziel.
yep,
So
And it still wasn't quite to those numbers from 2012, but still, I mean, the dude obviously did what he did, and he's very good at what he does. So,
yeah, no, he's just a winner. He's a big guy. He's a winner. He should win the
mhm.
Heisman. LSU are playing well. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not playing in Atlanta, so they're not going to get a shot at the national championship. But
No, but you're sitting 9-3, probably going to get a decent bowl game out of it. Probably not a New Year's Six, but something to hang your hat on.
yeah, I don't think they can slide into New Year's Six with 3 losses. But
Probably not.
regardless, you know, to show, I mean, he's special enough to overcome LSU's defense, and so I
Mm-hmm.
think that in and of itself should tell you quite a bit about his talent level. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I was thrilled to see the effort. I loved the approach in the game.
Yeah,
Going for the bunch. It's like we always like we've been saying, like just let it rip, man.
let
There's
it
no
rip.
like just have fun. Go out having a blast. The bowl game's really not going to matter if you win or lose this. You'd love to beat LSU in Baton Rouge. You had them on the ropes. But unlike years past, this team faded in the fourth quarter. Generally, starting in the middle of the third quarter, this second half, what was it? I saw a stat. If we won all the games that we were leading in halftime, would have been 11-1 this year.
Yeah,
So
it was crazy. They even talked about and I'd seen it previously, but they were talking about all the games and what the records would be at the end of the season. If A&M had every single one-score game or overtime game flipped, with this loss at the end of the year, we'd be sitting at 10-2.
yeah,
Which is just wild.
just an inability to finish this year, which was disappointing to see. But this year is basically in the rear view. I'll watch the bowl game just because I'll never pass up an opportunity to watch the Ags, especially not the last one I get until friggin' September.
Right. When we face off against Notre Dame, which will be
What
interesting.
an opener.
Yeah.
So we get Notre Dame with a new coach.
Yep.
So we can just go ahead and get into it now since we've been dancing around everything else.
Sure.
I want to start with Mike Stoops.
Mike Stoops.
So, if you follow Texas Ags a lot, or even if you're one of those people that keeps up with the coaching search enough, which means, if you don't follow on Texas Ags, you've probably seen this stuff all over Twitter, or you listen to the radio. I think we all had an idea of the candidates we wanted. I don't think we'll ever know who was actually interested, who all we actually interviewed. But I was when Stoops was announced, I was floored.
Mm-hmm.
Like absolutely floored. And I pay attention to this stuff, and I understand that his name had been mentioned, but in my mind, that wasn't one of the viable options.
Mm-mm.
And so I just kind of dismissed it when his name was mentioned, and then all of a sudden I get an alert on my phone
Mm-hmm.
that Stoops is ready to be our next head coach. And I didn't I tried not to run for the hills on Twitter. But I certainly had some text conversations that evening. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that at all. I don't understand how that kind of came about. I think it was Robert Barron's put out there, and it was like, they're like, all right, the dude that went to a basketball school, the one out east wearing blue, turned him around, got him going.
Yeah.
York's like, yeah, I got it. They're like, all right, go get him. York. All right, here's Mark Stoops. They're like, wait, what?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I understand part of the argument for Stoops, but the exact same argument can be made for Mike Elko. Mike Elko is a decade younger.
Well, what I was about to say, I think the things for me when it really came down to it, when you look at Mike Stoops versus a Mike Elko situation, the thing is with Stoops, the dude's been there for 11 years. You know who he is. We've seen it. The beauty of Mike Elko by comparison is the guy, as you mentioned, is significantly younger and only has a few years of head coaching experience at this level. And so truly it's an unopened box in a lot of ways. We don't know what potentially he could bring to the table. But I would say the beauty of the situation with Elko versus Stoops is you're going to get a similar guy for less money and a guy that for sure really wants to be here. I don't necessarily know much about the Mike Stoops situation in terms of like how excited he was to be here or any of that crap. But I know for sure at this point, if you had to ask me one versus the other, I'm going to take Elko all day.
Well, I mean, Elko's literally been here before. It wasn't that long ago.
Hmm.
We only have a couple of data points with him as a head coach, but you look back at what Stoops did at Kentucky, and they're like, well, he has 2 10-win seasons at Kentucky, and the Kentucky's a basketball school. He's working with way less than he'd be working with at A&M. What the
Hmm.
hell do you think Mike Elko's working with at Duke? And he already had a
Hmm.
9-win season. And this year they were looking really good, and then he lost his quarterback. And I know that's not, you can't 100% throw it out the window because trust me, as an Aggie, I fully understand about losing your quarterback.
Hmm.
But I mean, you look at the small sample size he has there and how quickly he turned that program around, got 9 wins at Duke. You want to talk about a basketball school? And at least
Hmm.
Kentucky has a little bit of football lineage outside of a bowl game that Duke went to that we played him, and that was what David Cutcliffe, and he'd been there for who knows how long.
Yeah, about 2013. I
Yeah,
remember that
so
one.
I mean, I'm not no, I mean like he'd been at Duke for as long as he'd like Cutcliffe was
Right.
a long time guy, and
Yeah.
so you got Elko goes in and what year one he turned it around from 3 or 4 wins to 9 wins.
Yeah.
Like with what? I mean, it's Duke, so how good are you going to be in the portal getting guys? So you're having to get what you can get because it's Duke,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you can't tell me that Duke's football facilities are nicer than Kentucky's.
No, and the other beauty is, you're taking Elko out of that situation, putting him in College Station,
Back
and
in College
yeah,
Station.
back in College Station. And the thing is that the supporting cast around him is very, very exciting as potential. I mean, obviously a lot of rumor. I don't know it's official, but they're talking about promoting Erob up to DC, which I don't hate that move. I, but I'd be
So
curious.
I like that move. So the argument is he ready to be a coordinator, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, all coordinators weren't coordinators, right?
Mhm.
But
They were position coach or a grad assistant or something.
if the move is to move him to DC, if the move is for Durkin to leave and to move him to DC, what you have is to an extent he's kind of the DC, but he's about to get trained and learn from one of the better DCs out there.
Yep.
So if there were a situation where he can be groomed to be the great DC that I think he has the potential to be, this is the one.
Yeah.
Because Elko is also a guy that embraces like the modern offense. Elko knows that he's just going to go get an offensive coordinator. He's going to be like, dude, that's your side of the ball.
Hmm.
I'll have some decisions here and there as a head coach because I'm running the program, but
Hmm.
the playbook won't be his decision per se.
No.
So
Well,
it,
certainly less so than Jimbo,
yeah.
I would say.
So yeah, I mean, he's still the head coach. If he wants to go for it on fourth down, they're going to go for it on fourth down kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if there were ever a perfect situation where Erob can get groomed to become an outstanding defensive coordinator, being under the tutelage of a guy like Mike Elko is that perfect situation. Not to
Hmm.
mention, obviously, everybody knows all the players love him. All right,
Hmm.
that's ad nauseum. We get it, man, and there's no reason not to. I've
Hmm.
been thoroughly impressed with him. All the players like Elko too, and the ones that
Yeah.
don't, I think it's just kind of a if you'll buy in, you will.
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of that sentiment from former players on Twitter this weekend once Elko was introduced. They're like, "Look, just buy in. Trust me. If you buy in, you're going to love it." And
Yeah.
so I think Erob, if you're going to get rid of Durkin, I think Erob is a great, obviously a great move. You got to pick your OC. I mean, maybe it's Bobby Petrino. Is it Bobby Petrino without Jimbo? Yeah. So but I don't know that that's necessarily the offense that you want to run. But again, I'm not Mike Elko. I can't tell you that. I can tell you
Hmm.
one thing: guarantee you we're gonna have an offensive line coach and a special teams coach.
Yeah. No, we're gonna go out and get those, and I'm not sure who we'll go after for those, but have a
Yeah,
handful of names that will hopefully
yeah.
come up soon.
I'm not even gonna start conjecturing. I'm not even OC. Like
Yeah.
this coaching search has worn me out. When they get announced, I'll just research and be like, all right, cool, let's roll.
Yeah.
But
I,
right before I got on, though, it showed his strength and conditioning from Duke is coming with him, David Feely.
yep.
And if you know much about this guy, he was a real big reason why Duke was able to make a bit of a turnaround as quickly as they did. They showed up and things were different. So
Hmm.
that's exciting because I mean, if you look, if how many times we faded in the second half, so much of that is strength and conditioning.
You're right.
It's harder to stay mentally locked in when you're physically exhausted.
Yep, and unfortunately, we did experience that quite a bit. Unfortunately, just the last several seasons, that's been an issue. You're not wrong. So being able to have a good strength and conditioning coach, that's very, very crucial. I've heard rumor on OC. I know we're not going to go digging through it, but apparently they're one of the names being floated is a pretty big name. I don't know. about all that. At this point, you've got your guy. He's here. He's ready to rock and roll, just like the rest of us. So I'm excited about that.
Well, yeah, and I think when I because and this will sound weird, so just hear me out. We kind of know who Mike Stoops is to an extent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, he was at Kentucky, so I understand that he's doing more with less, but he was also in the SEC East. So they've made at least a small commitment to facilities, and he was in for a while in SEC East that was right for the taking, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, the East was down for a good long while. So I think Elko, I think the excitement about what we think he can be, I think is really more because again, just Stoops has done it for 10 extra years and we kind of know what we're getting out of him, right?
Yeah.
Now, both of them could have been absolutely fine. So, you'll never win the hindsight battle. But I
Never.
think because he's younger, I think because he has a lot to prove, I think because he's already been here at Texas A&M
Mm-hmm.
and he understands that keeping E-Rob is important, like not just at A&M, but he's been around some of these players, man.
Yeah.
So like some of these dudes like legit are happy about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a level of kind of moderated excitement that we should be at right now. I think one, I'm just excited the search is done with.
Well, and a level of familiarity, I think, is the beauty of having Elko back in the locker room because he knows us. He knows how this thing works. And I'm really curious to see how things will shake out under his tutelage. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be different. And I heard Billy say on the radio this morning, and it's true. Like there's a culture change that needs to occur in this program, and I guess we'll see, right?
Yep. One extra little point that does make me rather happy is he is a defensive minded coach, which is something we haven't had since RC. So
Yeah.
that, and we know that traditionally defensive coaches have done well here. Not saying that that's the be all end all, of course, but it is such a great foundation set. So I'm excited for that.
Kirby Smart, Nick Saban,
Yeah.
both defensive coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's plenty to be said for that aspect of it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been completely different if it had been like Mike Stoops.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think the conversation today would be like trying to find the positives in a lot of ways. Really, really digging through it because, man, the initial reaction was just not great. And I will say, outside of the Tennessee situation, however many years ago, I've never seen it happen to such an extent where a fan base had such incredible uproar that all of a sudden the announcement implodes.
insane.
Yeah.
What was that? What was it? Greg Sciano from Rutgers, and who they were trying to sign in
Yeah,
Tennessee?
that sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have to really add my 2 cents to Twitter because I mean, Aggies were trying to break every server they could get their hands on.
Yeah.
And I get it too, though, because if you didn't follow this like on a daily and hourly basis, you may not have heard the Stoops name come out at all. So you want to talk about getting hit, coming out of left field. You were like, excuse you?
Well, and Ross sat down and lined out and explained all of these beautiful things in this nice little bulletin, right? Saying, we're not going to spend a ton of money. We're going to go after the right type of guy. We're going to get, all these things. We're not an 8-4, we're not an 8-4 job. We're going to really emphasize getting to that next level. You going after Mike Stoops, that's where that dude lives, is like 7-8 wins. Occasionally, which is not too dissimilar to Jimbo. Plus, he's under the same coaching tree. So,
coach for Jim.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what are you truly going to gain by going after him?
I think there was some talking out of both sides of the mouth a little bit on the coaching search.
Yeah.
Maybe it was from where we started and what we thought we were going to do and what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
But, the way it was initially set up, all these names got floated out and not all of them officially, obviously. In fact, I thought the athletic department did a good job keeping a lid on things, and most of it was just speculation from fans. but generally, because again, we live in the world we live in, people do have enough connections or do have enough like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon connections with people
Mhm.
that you do hear rumors. And it's one of those, when there's smoke, maybe there's a little bit of fire to it. So there's a lot of rumors that weren't getting shot down, I think is really what it is. It's not so much that they were confirmed as true, they just
Right.
weren't getting shot down. And so once that happens, these rumors take on a life of their own and they just
Yeah.
completely blow out of proportion. And so I think that's why you have a bunch of fans that are still all down in the mouth about it. Like they didn't want Stoops and they didn't want Elko, and they wanted Ryan Day or they wanted Jeff Fish, and I understand all that. Like I thought Fish would have been a great hire, but
Yeah.
the reality is, I think where we landed is where we need to be right now.
Mhm.
Uh, this program needs kind of needs to be put in time out a little bit.
No, and
Like
it needs a lot of stability, especially with the brand new setup coming in 2024. With brand new SEC, brand new playoff, brand new everything. All of a
that
sudden,
second thing you said is the most important.
yep, brand new playoff. You're absolutely right. And the thing is, everything changes starting next year. And from that point forward, really the end of the goal is to be that 12th team, get in the dance. And because once you're in the playoffs, if we've learned anything this year, cough,
Right.
cough, Rangers, once you make the playoffs, everything's off the table. It doesn't matter. As long as you're the hottest team at the end of the season, that's all that's going to matter. And people are going to complain. There's going to be some lower seed that's going to sneak up and grab somebody, and people are going to complain. But that's the beauty of the playoffs. If you don't like it, go to point systems like the freaking Premier League. If you truly don't like it.
Unless you're Everton, then you don't even like that. But
R.I.P. Everton, man.
well, and so then all of a sudden, again, you're trying not to get too excited, but that's the new coach smell, right?
Mm-hmm.
New coach shine. Doesn't matter who it is. We're like, this is going to be the dude turning around. And quite frankly, you never know that. But what you're looking at is, well, look what Elko did. He went to Duke. That was like a three win team, and literally the very next year he had him in 9 wins.
Yeah.
If he can just get over some of those humps that we talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
about the blowing leads in the second half, one score games being close. If he can flip a lot of that, remember you're still going to be in the SEC, and it'll be a conference that'll be considered even stronger
Yeah.
with the addition of the Sips and OU.
Yeah.
And so, and it doesn't matter at what level they play; it's going to be considered a stronger brand.
Yeah, and they will come in and they will both be rather competitive, I think. Yeah, right out the gate. The way Texas has been trending, we obviously have seen how they've looked this year, and they've been definitely moving upwards leading into the SEC move. Oklahoma even looking pretty solid, all things considered. But
I see. Go ahead.
no, yo, go ahead.
I see. I think OU is still a bit too much in Big 12 ball level. Like they're tiny, they're
Sure.
fast, and while that can work a little bit, um, I think OU obviously has the further road to hoe on that.
Yeah.
What I'll be interested to see out of Texas and OU is can they withstand the grind of the season?
Right.
Because like Texas jumping up and biting Alabama this year. First of all, I don't think anybody saw that coming, but they did it. They beat them on the field.
Yeah.
There's just no debating that. Does that
Mm-hmm.
mean Texas is better than Alabama right now? I don't know about that, but they beat them on the field head to head.
Mm-hmm.
But getting up for one SEC game a year and getting up for 8 or 9 of them are two different things. And
Yeah.
so, maybe sometimes we over that, that's way overblown by us as fans. We're like, yeah, but you can deal with the grind. Well, I mean, only 2 or 3 teams a year can.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we still see the opportunities for us getting up for somebody. I mean, A&M even does that. We'll try to get up for Alabama. We'll try to get up for LSU. It just depends on the year. It's very, very important for you to look at your schedule and say, okay, these are critical games. People are going to focus on those. But that will potentially lead you down the line to losing to a Mississippi State or an Ole Miss or an Arkansas or whoever.
Kentucky.
Or Kentucky, hell, a Tennessee, insert any of them. They can all do it. So you just have to be on top of what you're
Vandy's about
doing.
the only one that can.
Yeah. And yeah, whatever with Vanderbilt,
Vandy just
unfortunately.
sits around and waits for baseball season, and I don't blame him.
Mm-hmm.
But what a program, though, right?
Oh, very good.
What a dichotomy of programs
No,
with their football and their baseball.
hey,
But
you might as well be good at something.
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So I think obviously the new coach smell, the excitement is there, and I think if even if you just say Elko and Stoops are the same person, Elko's been here.
Yeah.
And again, and it's not, and I don't want this to sound like so he gets A&M. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't care about that. Um, I need somebody that understands that specific program.
Mhm.
And because it's been so recent since he's been here, Yeah. I think if one, he understands some of the players because he knows them, probably helped recruit them.
Yeah.
And second of all, I think he understands the importance of recruiting here. And obviously, every coach knows the importance of recruiting.
Mhm.
But in a situation like this, where you're in the state of Texas, you have OU, you have LSU. Well, really, you have everybody in the country trying to come to Texas to take people.
Yeah.
You have the advantage of being the closest program to Houston, which is one of the biggest cities in the nation.
Yep.
Texas high school football is consistently one of the top 2 or 3 states in the nation for football athletes for football.
Mhm.
And so you're right in the middle of a hotbed. You're literally in the triangle of Texas between the 3 metroplex kind of areas.
Mhm.
So I think he gets all that because he's already been here. I don't care if he can recite a bunch of Campos to me. That's okay. Uh, if he knows how to saw it off and he knows how to gig them, the rest of it is football for me. That's
That's
what
it.
you got. You got hired to change the culture to fix things.
Yep. Yeah, at the end of the day, your one job is to make Texas A&M a good football program and a great program for people to want to come here. And at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. Get them in here, get them going, and let's go out there and be competitive. I mean, that's
You need
frankly
to
where I'm
be
at.
you need to be at 9+ wins a year.
Yep.
And you need to be putting kids in the NFL. And if you do those 2 things, then you'll have those 10, 11, and 12 win seasons, regular seasons.
Yep.
If you start doing that, you get the better recruits. When you get to better recruits that you're also developing. So, if you're developing kids and you're starting with 4 and 5 stars, by the time they're getting ready to leave and go to the NFL, obviously the quality of roster is going to be better than developing a 2 or 3 star,
Mhm.
in the same amount of time. In theory, they're just not quite going to develop to the same potential that 4 or 5 star is. Now, that's
Yeah.
not the law of the land by any means, but
No.
it tends to be right more often than it's wrong.
Yeah.
And
So
so, like, he gets this program because he knows some of these kids and he's been
mhm.
in this program.
No.
So I think that's where the excitement is. I think there's a ton of excitement because I think we all agree he's going to keep E-Rob in some capacity. And if
Mhm.
it's not DC, it's not DC. So be it. But E-Rob will continue to develop as a likely defensive coordinator in his career, and it'll be under the tutelage of one of the better ones to do it in recent history.
Mhm. So that's exciting. We're definitely looking forward to it. I hope all of you guys are very excited too, as far as
And,
getting in
and
on here.
if you're in a wait and see mode, like I get it. Like if
Mhm.
you're kind of wait and see because you're like, man, I wanted one of those other big names, or I don't understand why we took him over Soups. Wait and see. I totally get it too. And that's fine. But I think the first points of emphasis that you need to focus on if you're kind of in wait and see mode, your first points will be where does he go with his coordinators, right?
Mhm.
He just brought an incredible strength and conditioning guy in, knowing with the situation that we've seen over the last year or two.
Mhm.
Not all injuries were due to that, but some really weird reports that came out about nutrition and all this other stuff on campus.
Mhm.
And maybe some of that is complete BS and just grumblings of a program not doing well.
Mhm.
But even if a tiny bit of it was true, I had a buddy of mine that played in the NFL briefly. He saw that article, he sent it to me. He was like, "There's no way that this is happening. Because if it is, that
Mhm.
person should have been fired yesterday." Because he's also like still a complete nutrition freak. So like he
Yeah.
understands both playing at a college and professional level and also
Yeah.
understanding the nutrition that goes into that on top of how nutrition has changed over the years. Because I mean,
Yeah.
he and I are the same age, but he still stays in shape. I'm just a
Mm.
shape.
Mhm. Hey, round's a shape.
That's correct.
Round is still a shape. Never let
Um,
anybody tell you otherwise.
but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how quickly he moves on offensive coordinator because obviously that's going to have impact on transfers because
Yeah.
this is the big thing that everybody wants to talk about. And I think, first of all, the positive reactions that you've seen, from the defensive side of the ball, I haven't really seen anything on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, seems very positive.
Yeah.
And because you've got guys in the defensive locker, in the defensive side of the locker room that know him and have
Mhm.
worked with him, they're able to tell the young guys, like, bro, we got a good one.
Well, and
Like,
and a lot of the alumni too, like Bobby Taylor and crew, are also very, very happy with the move.
well,
So
and that's helpful because they're,
yeah,
they stay in touch.
yeah. So
Um,
that's important. And so, I mean, when you have alumni and as well as current players that are all very happy with the move, and parents too. I mean, there was there was a report yesterday, just somebody, I guess he just fired it out there, nothing real, but he said, some 4-star decommitted, some defensive back, and mom came out, mom went on Twitter and tweeted at that guy and says, "Don't tell any lies. He hasn't said anything. Shut up." And we were like, it's like, that's straight from mama's mouth. And when mama's telling you you're full of shit,
Man, Twitter football moms are a hoot.
I love them. I love them. Tell them what's true.
Well, and so once he gets in the OC, I think we'll see an effect. Like, you're going to lose people every year. So first of all, there's no such thing as 100% roster retention. I mean, we already lost Max. I don't think that had anything to do necessarily with Jimbo Fisher leaving. That might have been more of a writings on the wall.
Like, writings on the wall, and frankly, I mean, poor dude got beat the living hell out of him.
Beat the crap. But Connor's coming back.
Yeah.
You just saw Jalen Henderson play pretty well.
Well, and I think if he can just find a way to not let little mistakes really creep into the back of his mind, I think he's going to be very good at that position and a solid backup to Connor. But
that comes with experience, man. He's just got to get out there and get snaps. And so these last 3 games have been just totally invaluable for his development as a quarterback.
Oh yeah.
So it was fun to kind of watch him play. But I think just the writing was on the wall for Max. We wouldn't be anywhere if Jimbo probably already would have been gone without what Max was able to do for us, in a lot of games. So, you just got to tip your cap to Max and wish him luck wherever he ends up.
Yeah.
But I think, when you have Connor and you have Henderson and you got Marcel Reed on the roster and you've got more quarterbacks coming in, the writing's going to be on the wall when you're a grad backup quarterback. And I'm sure he wants to go somewhere and start. And, this also hasn't ruled out the possibility that Duke's quarterback may end up coming with Elko.
Yeah. Could be a lot of things.
Wildly talented kid.
Yeah. Could be a lot of things.
And that's another thing you have to remember. Like, we might lose some kids, but it's very possible that we'll gain some kids directly from Duke. And if you didn't watch Duke football, then try not to comment as much about it. Because if you just look at the record, you'd be like, well, why do we want kids from teams like this? Well, first of all, that's a terrible way to look at the transfer portal. Sometimes I don't care where they're coming from. Yeah. But there's some opportunities on that Duke roster even to bring some people in. So it's obviously going to be fluid. You have signing day coming up, in a week or so. Yeah. So a lot happening, which is why it was important to get him in.
Yeah.
And important to give him time to hopefully get an offensive hire made in a week. Yeah. You feel like a week should be enough time. Hopefully we've given him a pretty big checkbook to work with on coordinators. I think he fully understands that.
Yep.
And so if he can seal this up before signing day, he can concrete this class. I mean, you might lose 1 or 2, but you might pull somebody back into the fold.
Well, and the beauty of the transfer portal is at the end of the day, whether you do lose people or not, as far as recruits, you still have the opportunity to fill that role, at least for the short term, until you get the right guy recruited in next couple seasons. So,
and if you look at Duke, that turnaround was partially due to utilization of the transfer portal. So he clearly knows how to work the portal to fill the needs that he has on his roster.
Yep.
So I think that's another kind of one more little notch, on the walking stick to talk about, positivities of an Elko hire. So again, man, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any such thing as a slam dunk hire anymore. Because that's what Jimbo was. That's what Sumlin was. They just didn't work out. And so I think this is great for A&M, man. I think this is exactly what we need on the field and in the locker room.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. Like I said, was it the most ideal hire that I wanted? Maybe not, but even so, it's a good hire, and I would say one that I'm very excited for the upcoming. So,
worst hiring process ever.
Oh yeah, I mean that was not ideal, and not a great situation revolving around what happened with Stoops. But
we just unnecessarily got egg on our face.
Yeah,
just and
silly.
And I said it when the Stoops thing got announced. One of the first things I told my dad and I were talking about it. And I was like, Stoops doesn't work out. Bjork's going to be packing his bags the same exact time, and it doesn't matter what other hires he made.
Right, and I think that would be. I'm not sure if that will be the case for Elko, but that for sure would have been the case with Stoops, I think, amongst the fan base.
He would not have been he would have been one of the first coaches at A&M in a long time not to get way too long of a leash.
Yeah,
exactly. That's our favorite thing to do here.
Oh yeah, no, we love to like no, give them a year, give them another
One more
year.
year, maybe 2 more years.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
Like, so
There's
and that's, on the flip side, that's why I was happy with it. And
yeah,
a lot of people were like, I still don't understand the timing of the firing. Be the first in line to be interviewing coaches, rip the Band-Aid off.
mhm,
I mean, we've shown time and time and again that we extend coaches well past their lifeline here. And it's not just in football. It's not just one AD. It's just like the fighting Texas Aggie way is to extend coaches that have shown time and time again who they are.
yep, you're
And
absolutely
so
right.
I, to me, to an extent, that was a bit of a statement.
Yep,
Like, you know what? Screw this. We're not doing this anymore. And we're not going to wait. We're not going to be the last ones to the dance. Like, we're doing this now. We're putting our foot in the sand and saying, this is no longer good enough at Texas A&M. It's time for you to go. And
yep.
it's been a long time since we did something as bold as brash as we just did.
No, did it, and you went ahead and just paid the guy. You didn't try to find any kind of workaround to try to get out of the contract. You just straight up said, "You're not doing it. Here's your money. Go home,"
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah. You walked into the meeting, you sat down, you said, hey, not good enough. Give us a forwarding address for the checks.
Yeah,
That was it.
that's it.
I mean,
That's all it
hopefully
need.
maybe a little bit more in depth and professional than that, but that's pretty much what you said. You're not cutting it. 2 more games isn't going to make a hill beans difference.
No, in fact,
So
I think you lose that LSU game a lot worse because we didn't let it rip.
yeah, and
You
and I
know.
and I thought it was a rare bold statement from us
Hmm.
on the firing side. Now, bold statements on the hiring side, obviously Buzz. Hiring Jimbo was a bold statement. It was.
Mm,
Hiring Buzz, I thought was a great hire. I thought it was a splash hire. Getting
Schlossnagle too.
getting
Yeah,
Schloss is an absolute, like, I hate to literally use this saying, but it was a home run.
home runs, literally slam
Yeah.
dunk home run. I mean, he's a great hire, and what he's about to do with Aggie baseball this next year, if things pan out, could be really, really cool. But we'll definitely get into all that.
Well,
We're
yeah,
almost
again, yeah,
done.
I know we always end up dipping into I know we always end up dipping into baseball and softball every time.
We'll get
But
there.
but but even on the smaller ones, like I think we've made big hires. Hiring away
Yeah,
Georgia's basketball coach, Joni Taylor, I thought that was a big hire.
it is a big hire.
Yeah, Trisha Ford pulled her from Arizona State. Arizona State's a perennial. First of all, it's a Pac-12 softball team, which means they're good.
Yeah,
So I think the hires have been in line with that. So this is the one where maybe the hire wasn't this massive splash hire, but maybe it was exactly what we needed.
yeah, and I like to think that's the case, and
It was a splash fire.
splash fire and a
It
splash fire.
was. Dude,
So
we kind of shocked everybody when we canned him.
yeah, there's no way. There's not any chance they're gonna do it. There's no
Dumb
way.
Aggies. What do
Dumb.
you think they're going to get?
And but I also love the fact that it always comes down to, well, A&M deserves more, and then we get to the point, and it's like, well, who do you think you are?
We didn't really mean that.
Yeah, it's
Stay in
like
your hole.
yeah, pick a side.
Yeah. So again, I like the hire. I do. I'm really looking forward to seeing the coordinators. I'm thrilled that he's got a strength and conditioning guy coming, or sports
Yep.
performance director, whatever they call him.
Yeah.
I need a new offensive line coach. Whatever OC he wants. I don't care.
Yep.
But if he keeps Petrino, like there has to be a stipulation. You can stay, but Adazio's got to go.
For the love of God, get a special teams guy too.
Special teams guy, and I need a recruiting coordinator.
Yeah, I think you have all that. And for the love of God, was it Tim? Yeah, Tim Brewster. He just left Colorado. We need some energy back here in this building, damn it. Go get him.
Maybe he'll be a recruiting coordinator.
Yeah, go get him for some all that fun crap.
So those are the big things. First of all, you have to have every single one of those positions.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, like an O-line coach, a special teams coach, coordinator, recruiting coordinator. I don't know enough deep into that world to know. There are probably a handful of names in those positions that I know are good.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, whoever he hires, I'm just going to trust he's hiring the right guy. That's why we gave him the keys to the Corvette.
Yep.
But OC obviously will be a little bit different because I think most fans, even casual fans, know a lot more OC names.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to see who he goes after. And when he does, I'm sure we'll have something to say about it on here.
I'm sure we will, and I'm looking forward to getting into that. But next week we're going to be looking at obviously championship weekend. It's going to be pretty exciting. We'll definitely highlight those matchups next week. And looking
No, this coming weekend, championship weekend.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not gonna highlight anything. They'll be done.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
Oh,
talk
just
talk,
review.
talk
Okay.
about them after that. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
going to say.
next week is getting fired up for Army Navy.
Yeah, exactly. We'll definitely get into all that. But what's your week looking like? What do you got going on?
So basically taking time off is completely detrimental to my sanity. So I'm just pretty much slammed all week. That's Monday. I got my Monday market update coming out. Friday, obviously release another video. And then just work. It's kind of hair on fire week for me.
Yep.
Kind of bridging the gap on some stuff for a whole bunch of different clients. So I'm kind of going in about 4 different directions, which is a little bit new for me. But I'm excited for it. And then, at some point I probably need to sit down and make sure I get my license renewed.
No, yeah, the fun stuff, always the fun crap. But yep, jump on the
just working my butt off, man. Finishing up the outside lights. I got everything on the roof this weekend, so I've just got to do the yard. Probably do that tonight or tomorrow, and then keep one eye on work and the other eye on tech sags.
Yep.
Waiting for coordinator hires.
Yep, keep an eye out for that coordinator hire. We are going to be in last 2 shows for Texas for the year are going to be this weekend. We're going to be over at Huntsville playing at Shenanigans. So if you're in the Huntsville area, catch us on Friday, and then we will be at Cheatham Street in San Marcos to close out our Texas run on Saturday. So those are going to be 2 fun shows. We've never played Huntsville, so very excited to be out in Huntsville. And
you want to play the state pen?
Right. Let's get that prison rodeo going. We'll bring the dummy. Excited for that. But yeah, we've never. So one prospect I'm excited about. We have a song called "Pot in Huntsville," which is a great jam of a song. We've never played it in Huntsville, so I'm excited about that. We'll see how the crowd kind of reacts to that one. New music, once again, is all kind of set up for after the start of the year, but got my brand new bass. It just wrapped up. They put the finishing touches on it. I should have it this weekend, hopefully. So
it's the little things.
It is the little things. So yeah, be sure to catch us on all of the socials. We are over there on Instagram. We are on Twitter. Be sure to catch us. It is Roy May 15 on Twitter, Rob the Slapper on there. And of course, be sure to follow the RedAss podcast on Instagram. Would love you to do so. We will post updates on there as well. So all the good stuff.
Ribs Real Estate Ramblings on Twitter.
Yes, be sure to follow
Triple R.
Yep, go at Triple R. Go check them out, please. Good episodes, good times. So
that's all I got. My biggest thing is just I got to exercise this week. I put on so much weight. There's no way I didn't put on a ton of weight.
No, I only had 1 plate. I was proud of myself. I didn't go back for seconds. I had 1 plate. I had a dessert, and I called it good.
I had 1 million plates over 2 Thanksgivings, leftovers. Way too many beers. Well, the right amount of beers. It's just a lot. I'm a big guy.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, once again, guys, this is the RedAss podcast. Thanks, Gig'em. Beat the hell out of the offseason. Beat the hell out of our bowl game.
And Virginia.
Basketball. And beat the hell out of Virginia. Thanks, Gig'em. Have a great night.